Hi, I am Maria-Christie BAKHOS, Lebanese theater artist. I'm an actress, stage director, writer, academic researcher, assistant professor at the Lebanese University, and vice president of the Lebanese Cultural and Artistic Association, the Other Theater. I'm more than glad to be part of this amazing global event because it's always a joy and a pleasure to speak of things we are passionate about theater, and about Dario Fo and Frank Karami, these two legendary theater makers who left a great legacy in theater and in satire. I love theater and I love satire. And I believe that good satire is not just one of the best ways, but it is the best, if not the only way to understand in depth any society and any culture. Though I know that not all satires are created equal, and that superficial satires mocking individuals and superficial issues and events might be very popular and very trendy because humans crave laughter, because we love humor. But this kind of shallow humor will never have the power that a good satire has, the power to reveal incongruities in any system, the power to expose the real and hidden reasons behind problematic issues in any given society, and the most important of all, the power to dethrone tyrants, to demystify this fake sacred aura and fake sacred status that any tyrant tries to acquire so that he can exercise his tyranny. For my part, I've always been very intrigued by theatrical satire, whether in my academic research or in practice. And I've already worked on Aristophanes' theater and on Anton Chekhov's theater and novellas. And in 2019, I started working on The Woman Alone, this very beautiful piece of theater, this very subtle, social, cultural, and even political satire that was composed by both of Frank Karami and Dario Fo and was once performed by Franca herself. My plan was to present it in Beirut around the first week of April 2020, but because of the pandemic, obviously, and because of the lockdowns and because of the total shutdown of theaters and of the whole artistic and cultural and theatrical life, the project was suspended, not cancelled. I'm saying suspended because I'm still hoping that it will take place at some point, hopefully in the near future, and because I still feel the impulse and the urge to question through this play so many problematic aspects in my community. Nevertheless, this incident, the suspension of the show, was quite painful for me and for the group of artists who loved it and who devoted their time to it. Especially that we stopped rehearsing a bit before the pandemic reached Lebanon. Because in our case here in Lebanon, the problem wasn't only the pandemic. It was way, way beyond. It was about the most dramatic period in our life on the individual level. And on the collective level, it was the most dramatic period in Lebanon's modern history. It was about a series of catastrophic crises, political, financial, economic, social, health, educational, cultural, existential, so many sorts of imaginable and unimaginable crises. Overnight, the entire Lebanese population became Sharon, this woman alone, the protagonist of the play I was intending to present. Every Lebanese citizen became Sharon, literally stuck at home, with no clue, and in overwhelming fear, anger, and pain, and in complete powerlessness. It was shocking, extremely shocking, for me, as for every single Lebanese citizen, but for me particularly because first I was part of that collapsing community Second, because overnight I started witnessing and experiencing the very reality I was hoping to avoid or partially avoid by staging A Woman Alone, by raising awareness and bringing attention to some of our problematic issues. But I admit I didn't know the collapse was that close. It's not the first time when I'm working on or in a play, and out of the sudden, I start seeing its events popping up all around the place. In the past, I used to be a bit superstitious about this very odd phenomenon because of the uncanny resemblance between the events in this kind of plays and the actual reality. But since I prefer to approach this phenomenon in a more reliable and scientific and realistic perspective, so this more scientific perspective led me to a very beautiful truth about theater. This art that I love and cherish. And the truth is that these valuable plays, which were conceived and composed earlier, attempting to speak to previous generations and to our ancestors, seem to be timeless. They seem to be tremendously authentic in speaking to any human being, no matter where or when. And this is the case with every valuable piece of art, every valuable piece of theater, since Sophocles, Euripides, Aristophanes, to Frank Karame and Dario Fo, and all the other contemporary genius playwrights and theater makers, and in between, all the greatest minds that I personally had the chance and the honor to experience their art and their genius as an actress, as an assistant director, and as a director, like Pushkin, Dostoevsky, Khalil Gibran, Fuad Kanaan, Chekhov, Henrik Ibsen, and so many others, all the way to Frank Karame. All of them taught me that theater is our ultimate collective miracle as a species. That theater gives us this miraculous and magical power to review, to discuss, and even to relive past experiences in the full awareness and the fervor, and despite all the insecurities and the uncertainties of the present moment, and throughout the enlightening futuristic visions and clairvoyance. They taught me that theater is this magical symphony harmonizing in the live performance a multitude of voices, the voices of the greatest minds that humanity has ever known, and the least heard moans of the most ignored and marginalized individuals. They taught me that theater artists are alchemists, and I adore being alchemist. They are alchemists creating eternity out of the ephemeral, because theater is the most ephemeral of all arts. And I know that I'm not the only theater artist who at some point in her life has suffered from the ephemerality of theater. All of this made me a great believer in the power of art and the power of theater. Theater is power. Theater is a human need. It's a very beautiful need. It's an amusing and pleasant need. Theater is a necessity. It's not just another mere entertaining leisure. It's not just another mere bourgeois whim. Theater is a crucial part of the ultimate proof of our supremacy as a species. And I think that the only supremacy that we have the right to be proud of is this very ability to create, to appreciate, to communicate, and to crave beauty, meaningful beauty, sensual, emotional, intellectual, meaningful beauty. I know that in these very difficult times of pandemic and global panic and social distancing, theater lovers and theater makers and practitioners might have serious concerns about the future and the destiny of theater, and they might fear its extinction as a living art. However, I think that it will never happen because throughout history, theater survived much worse than this pandemic, and it always succeeded to resurrect. Because humans need theater as they need the sun to warm up, to blossom, and to see better the infinite and the ultimate shades of life. In the end, I would say, I hope and I believe that theater, the miracle of theater, will gather us again in its arena, where we will meet in massive clusters, but in the deepest confrontation with the self, in its loneliest and most vulnerable states. Because only then will show up our chances to break through, to transcend towards grabbing the soul of history in our pursuit of freedom, happiness, and contentment. Theater will always be our ultimate miracle of infinite redemption and self-resurrection. Thank you.